Hi everyone, it's Will Gale here, and in this video I want to share with you the things I stopped buying to make more money. If you're like most people, you probably have a few expenses that are draining your bank account each month. By cutting back on these expenses, you can free up more money to put towards your financial goals, whether that's saving towards a house, paying off debt, or investing in your future. I'm a big believer that learning to spend smart by not wasting money on stuff that doesn't provide deep happiness is as important as trying to actually earn more. Ultimately, our goal is for the difference between what you spend and what you earn to be as big as possible. That ultimately equals your savings that you can then use to invest and build your passive income streams over time. Now let's get into it. 1. Buying hardcover books. Growing knowledge by watching YouTube, going on courses, and of course reading books is key to growing knowledge. My knowledge and success has, without a shadow of a doubt, been compounded by reading books, essentially learning from people that have written them. But remember, there are more cost-effective ways to do this. Rather than just buying every book you read as a hardcover book, try reading books on things like Kindle, for instance. It's much more convenient, cheaper than buying the physical book. You can also highlight parts you like, sentences you like, and then just look at them easily after. But sometimes there are books that I really love or want to read again and again, or just be reminded by. For those sorts of books, I tend to buy the physical versions and display them on my bookshelf as a constant reminder of the valuable knowledge they contain and the lessons I've learned. This is why I really focus on investing in the books I found most valuable in my life. 2, buying stuff on sale. Now, don't get me wrong, I love a good deal as much as the next person, but there's a big difference between buying something on sale and buying it because it's on sale. So let's dive into the nuances of this issue and why it's important to know the difference. When you buy something just because it's on sale, you're essentially not really saving money. Instead, you're spending money on something that you didn't really need to begin with. And if we're not careful, those small purchases can add up quickly, leaving us with a bunch of stuff that we don't actually need or use, and money that we could have saved. Now, I'm not saying that we should never buy anything on sale. In fact, buying on sale can be a great way to save money on things we actually need or want. The key is to be intentional with our purchases and to only buy things that we really were planning to buy anyway. This way you can take advantage of the savings without getting sucked into the temptation of buying things just because they're on sale. 3, investing in things I don't understand. Legendary investor Warren Buffett once said, risk comes from not knowing what you're doing. And he's absolutely right. When we invest in things we don't understand, we're essentially gambling. We're hoping that our money will grow, but we don't have a clear idea of how it will happen. On the other hand, when we take the time to really understand an investment, we can make informed decisions that have a much better chance of paying off. Warren Buffett has built his entire career on that principle. He's famous for only investing in companies he understands and can easily predict their long-term prospects. So if you want to invest wisely, take the time to do your homework. Don't put your money into things you don't understand. Follow Warren Buffett's lead as I do and invest in what you know. 4, the upgrade. We all love the latest and greatest gadgets and upgrades, but sometimes they can come at a steep cost. And if you're trying to save money, buying upgrades might not be the best move. Think about it. Every time you upgrade, you're essentially throwing away the money you spent on the original item. And if you're constantly upgrading, that can add up fast. Instead of getting caught up in the upgrade frenzy, focus on making your current items last as long as possible. Remember, it's not about keeping up with the latest trends or having the newest technology. It's about making smart financial decisions that will benefit you in the long term. 5, buying fast fashion. I love a good deal, but when it comes to fashion, that deal might be costing us more than we realise. Fast fashion has taken over the industry with clothing that's cheap, trendy, and designed to be worn only a few times before going out of date. In the end, you're actually spending more money, as it might seem cheap up front, but it doesn't last. We end up buying more and more of it. But there's a better way. I try investing in well-made, timeless clothing. I can actually save money on it in the long run, ultimately, because these pieces last longer. I don't have to keep replacing them, and because they're not tied to fast fashion trends, they don't tend to go out of style very quickly. You know, this white shirt isn't going out of fashion anytime soon. 6, subscriptions. So if you're serious about saving money, take a look at your subscriptions and see which ones you can live without. Your wallet and your future self will thank you for it. There are endless subscriptions, Netflix, Amazon, Spotify, and once you start a subscription, you forget all about it. And before you know it, it's months and months that go by. Force yourself to assess these costs each month. Really make sure the amount of money you're spending on these subscriptions is worthwhile. You know, is it really worth it? Don't let subscriptions hold you back from achieving your financial goals. 7, buying a new car now. Where do I start? They're expensive. On average, they're about 30 to 40 grand, which is just a huge amount of money to spend on something that goes down in value. Put it this way, you wouldn't buy a house expecting it to go down in value. Cars, for the most part, halve in value in the first few years. You literally lose money the moment you drive it out of the showroom. But it's not just that. When you buy a new car, you're also paying for insurance, which tends to be more because the car is more expensive. And if you're financing that car, you'll be paying interest on the loan as well. If you're aspiring or still in the phase of building your wealth as I am, consider buying a used, reliable older car. You might be able to buy a higher model second-hand car for less than a lower model new car, for instance. You'll save a ton of money in the long run, because you're basically cutting out the most expensive part, which is the depreciation. 8, buying daily coffee. Let's face it, we all love our caffeine fix in the morning, but did you know that buying coffee every day can add up to a significant amount of money over time? If you're someone who buys a £5 coffee every day, that's £25 a week, £100 a month, £1,200 a year. Think about that for a moment. That's a whole lot of money that you could be putting towards something else, like paying off debt, saving, or investing for your future self. So what can you do instead? Well, for starters, you can make your own coffee. Not only is it more cost effective, but you also have more control over what you can put into it, like the type of milk or the sweetener you use. 9, create limits. This is something I've done more and more with friends and family, and that is creating spending limits on the amounts we spend on each other for things like presents, on birthdays and Christmases and things like that. Essentially think Secret Santa type arrangements, simple, effective, and takes the pressure out of how much you spend on one another. Give it a go. Ultimately, my concluding thoughts on all of this is ultimately I have no problem in spending on things that really give me joy and great experiences, especially experiences with my family. What we all want to avoid is spending on things that are out of habit or laziness because, you know, I'm trying to fit in or show off. Really, any purchase based on my ego or in an effort to try and impress people is what I'm really trying to avoid. I want to go through the mental process of establishing that what I'm spending my money on is really worth it. Is that money better spent elsewhere, like long-term investments or experiences with my family? Really, this is all about cutting out those wasteful spending habits. I really appreciate you watching, and if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe. Bye.